whether an outgoing governor, a former governor, an outgoing president, a former president. Even in America, you have what you call superdelegates. They will endorse someone, and in that endorsement, they will explain why they believe the person they are endorsing will be better than the opponent. And so, because it's public secret that I did endorse the current governor, and I did campaign vigorously for him. Many people warn me that he is not the kind of person I think he is. And now, what were the issues that I thought that when you have someone who has worked with you, you discuss a number of projects together, you understand what inform policy choices, and it contributes or contributed to all those processes. Now, the challenge of continuity is easier. When I say continuity, that does not mean everything will be done the same. Because there are a couple of things, if I were to do them again, given current reality, I may approach them differently. But, for example, I give specific examples. I expect that everybody who gets a job, whether it's political office, business, corporation, etc., you look at it and say, how do you run it more efficiently? That is to be expected. However, like I gave a specific example, I said, the problem of Nigeria is that we have these abandoned projects scattered all over the country. And I said, for example, it's not rocket science. In this building, the total cost is 200 million. And I have spent 180 million and put the structure in place. Now I need 20 million to paint it. If I don't spend that 20 million to paint it, the 180 million is wasted. Because nobody is going to move into a house that has not been painted. But with 20 million, there is a new house that has been constructed and it will be available. So there is no government. Many are completed. For example, we had a policy of building more schools because public schools have collapsed in the state. And the idea was, I built the number of schools in every ward across the 1 and the 2 wards. People now name the Red Book Revolution. And we ensure that we have ceramic tiles, we introduce standard desks, 2 pupils in 1 desk, and then 1 pupil, 1 desk in secondary school. This is to ensure that our children are taught in an environment that is clean and that compares to private schools by teachers that are well paid and well trained. And we did that everywhere across the length and breadth of the state. There is no local government, there is no ward where you will find those red books. But there were many more schools that needed to be rebuilt, even in the heart of Benin here, where the roof is out. Like we used to joke, when the plane is landing, children in classroom can see the aircraft. And I think recently somebody posted a photograph this year of a school where the children are running from one corner to the other. You see flood covering their feet and all that. Now, for me, we said no one government will finish all the schools. But if we sustain the idea, every year we build more schools and abolish the use of zinc and use long span aluminium, they last longer. And then we decided we're going to introduce casement windows so that when you pass in the classroom, the children you can see the children, the teacher is passing, you can see whether they are learning or not. And the Benin City water storm in particular, I wanted the best road for this city and for everywhere in Edo that will build a road I didn't believe in the idea of doing substandard roads that will not survive the season, because then you are wasting money. Now, Julius Berger told us, I invited them, that tells you the kind of quality of job I wanted to do. And Julius Berger said, we can't work here, you need to drain the city. There are so many basins, stagnant water, and any road you do without standard drainage on both sides. And the size of the drainage will be determined by the volume of water, which can be calculated by experts. That's how we brought Oregon that carry out a comprehensive study, on the basis of which we started the first phase. In that first phase, it includes drainage, roads, etc. This airport road you see is 6 lane. To have a huge underground drainage, you can walk, tall as you are, you can walk under inside that tunnel. That evacuates all the water to the Oba River. And other side streets that we constructed, like the Tomato Market, the one to Chief Edebini's residence, the one to Charlie Temple residence, all those, the old market on after the zoo, the water that comes from those adjoining streets flow into the primary drain and it takes it to the river. So you can never see the airport road flooded. The same thing, the teacher's house project. You will see that we created a 14-kilometer drainage, and you can drive under it. In some places it was open, in some other places it was closed, depending on the nature of the area. And those primary drains are equivalent to the moat which our great-grandfathers constructed in Benin. And having created that, we're now able to transform that area called Teacher's House, Upper Siloko, all the way to an area popularly called Channel 55. You see the two drainage on the two sides of the road. You see the size of the drainage. That size is determined by calculations of the volume of water. So that we were now able to create 6 lanes in an area that was not passable, complete with street lights and sidewalks. You go to Upper Lawani, we deseated the place, brought out a building, reclaimed the moat that was already compromised. But let me just round up by saying that we agree as government then, and I still do believe so now, that we mustn't waste money by constructing any road without drainage. And the drainage must flow to a particular destination, either the moat or any of the two rivers and some other areas in Benin. If it doesn't flow to a destination, we're going to have stagnant water. I'm shocked that as I left, this project was abandoned. And I'm sure you all live in Benin. When it rains these days, there are areas you can't go to. If that project had continued, one day the entire city will be completely flooded. There are a couple of things like that. I mean, Ogbemudia College, formerly known as New Era. I can't believe that we complete this school. The children ask me that why should their school be different from the red room, the watered red room. And I promise I will make it in one of the model schools. And if you go to the place, the buildings are there. But even to face around it, but that was not done before the end of my tenure. Things like that are abandoned. And even painful to me is that those children who moved to the classroom with modern furnitures in the classrooms, I remember they gave me a painting that day. They gave President Buhari a gift. Secondary school people, they were so happy. As we speak, they are not allowed to occupy the school. And they only use the hall for so-called consultancy services. And the children are seeing the old school. Now, these are policy issues. As a party, governments are supposed to execute projects based on the party manifesto. So when people say, why are you interfering? It's not interference. Those elected on the platform of a political party must be seen to execute the manifesto of the party. And I can go on and on and on and on. The last road I did, I remember, is the second circular. Second in circular. Those who live there and those who live so far, they know that that was an abandoned area. I remember bringing the Minister of Health. He could not recognize his father's house because they had been sinking because of flooding and all that. We transformed it to dual carriageway. But I couldn't install the street lights before I left. Because the standard policy was road, sidewalk, street lights. And all those are abandoned. But even the street lights that have been installed, because we carry out some studies and we find that there are businesses that thrive at night. Now, we have coronavirus now, so there's a new normal, as they say. Otherwise, in a normal day, a city that even the colonial masters considered was well planned, we agreed that we have to return nightlife. So every road that we constructed must have street lights. And I was happy sometimes when I walk out in the night, I see beer parlors, I see eateries, people who close late from work, some shops will open because it is well lit, it deals with security questions, etc., etc. And of course, beautification. A lot of people go to Dubai sometimes, they see a water fountain picture, they want to see it. We constructed a caustic water fountain, which people were coming to imitate across the world. And those people who are in diaspora, America, Britain, and so on, they were like, no, this cannot be Benin. This must be, we'll take a picture in Dubai. I do remember it was front page in Guardian newspaper one Saturday. I just bought the paper and I saw, and everybody was like, is this Benin City? Now that is how we talk about urban renewal. And I have always made this point that we need in a family house, most visitors come only to the sitting room. Now, if the sitting room is well ordered, they go away with a good impression. This family is very well ordered. Look at the sitting room, everything, furniture, decors, everything is in place. They will think that even if in the bedrooms you do not have a bed, the guests will not know that. But that does not mean that eventually you will not furnish all the room. But because you may not have all the revenue and resources you need, you start from somewhere. So it was a common, and we gave Benin City, we have to do what we have to do to restore what you might call the lost glory of the city. And I'm happy that by the time I left, everybody, I use the word everybody, minus those who have political, who will not give credit for political reasons, agreeing that things were changing. Now, if this standard rules, drainage, the Benin City Water Store Master Plan was sustained, the flooding we are experiencing in some places will be less. We also realize from studies that it's not good enough to just create drainage. As the water flow every year, before the rainy season starts, you always get a warning from the meteorological survey that there will be rains, it will be of this volume or that volume. So you deseat the drainages across the city. That is what we did in place they used to call Tom Line. In addition to rebuilding and expanding the drainage, we pipe junction. In addition to redesigning the underground water storm water system to defraud the pipe junction, we also brought a swamp bogey to reclaim the moat, so that the water that flows gets to that moat and takes away. Now, when you abandon all of that, now where is the benefit of continuity? When we say continuity, it is not that you continue with my style, no. But this house was 90% completed. Put it 10%. The hospital, and this is the last point I will make. I said, people deserve, after the death of my wife, the first thing I did after mourning was to commission to lay foundation. And nobody sees that building. The day the president saw it when he came to commission, he said, this is the most beautiful edifice he has seen anywhere in Nigeria. And we ordered state-of-the-art equipment from Vamet Nigeria Limited. You Google Vermen, V-E-R-M-E-D, and it will tell the story, who they are. And I paid 75%, the council approved that we should pay 75%. The whole idea is, a lot of these things, they are not like microphone that you buy off the shelf. You have to order to specification, and they produce it for you, and it takes time. Nobody is going to assemble an equipment overseas if he's not sure of his payment. So we have to make those payments. But the remaining 25%, my successor will not pay it. Till today, he has not paid it. Number two, the hospital was closed for over 2.5 years. But they had to do a documentary. After mutual friends talked to him, why are you not opening the hospital? And the man said, no, I want a consultant. I want to use consultants. I said, that is your decision. Government can decide whether you want to use consultants or what you want to do. But bottom line, open the facility to the public. They set up a House of Assembly inquiry to investigate the hospital. Their idea was to find fault. But by the time they saw what was on ground, and all the documentary and so on, the House of Assembly, in their report, which you can ask for, and I insist you ask for it, they said the hospital has been built to specification, the mission of the hospital has been well accomplished, but the government should open it for public use. And they said if the governor wants to use consultants to run the place, then he must be ready to pay subsidy so that it doesn't become an elite facility, because poor people cannot afford a consultant that will charge you commercial value when you fall ill. It wasn't meant for elite, it was meant for Edo people. Until today, the hospital is not working fully. Now I expect you, for example, as members of the media, you have a right to say, open this place. It's a public facility. And the one complaint that people have always made, and I discussed this with him, is that you do not bring people who are outside to do jobs that people inside can do. Like I mentioned there, even the preaching of lunch, the menu card that people look, whether it's rice, egusi, whatever, it's not printed in Edo State, printed in Port Harcourt. And people complain to me, Comrade, we told you this, we told you, look at it now. So I couldn't abandon the people, and I have to try to engage them. So for me, the issue in this campaign is not about me at all. I'm never going to be governor again. And it is for anybody who has been in government. Nobody who knows what governance is about that we think you want to control a government. But what you can't do is to advise. And also to make peace within the rank and file between leaders and leaders, because there's bound to be quarrel. But if you say you are going to crush this, I mean, you are here. If you play back your campaign materials in 2016, you will see the governor in the hotel of Tony Kabaka, dining and whining there, and then addressing the youth, over 3,000, that he mobilized for his support, and he came there to address them. Whatever is the issue, you threaten to demolish the place, the man goes to court. We are not in a jungle, we are in a banana republic. We have separation of powers. The judiciary has the power to adjudicate. The man takes the lawful part, he went to court. Judgment is reserved for a Friday. By Wednesday, you send bulldozers and you demolish the place. I mean, what can go on and on? So, the just point I want to make is that I'm not going to, my view is, this is not about any individual. It's not going to be about name calling. We are just going to ensure that this election focuses on issues of sustainable development. Edo was already taking second and third position in WAEC and NECO. What position have we been taking? Right? How many new schools have we built? The one that, are still flooded, what are we doing about them? I watched some of the social media stories about when it rained for 10 minutes, what happens in Benin. So nothing personal at all, but I had the burden as the national chairman of the party. But even if I wasn't national chairman, as a loyal member of the party, I cannot take a microphone or address a press conference to denounce a governor, not only the one that I supported, but also to begin to point out what is not doing right. It will tantamount to campaigning against yourself. What I thought was reasonable to do is what we did. Have a meeting of small number himself, his deputy secretary of government, about 7 of us, to say, look, hard fact, this is not a place. These are the complaints members of the public need to say. Forget about those who hire, right? There are critical segments of society. They don't do press conferences, but they can see. Because I told him, and I told all those working with him, I said, we told the people, don't believe anybody unless you see it. IMA. Now all these your MOU, they are fine to give the people hope. But be ready, be certain that you do not tell them you are going to do XYZ, and at the end of the day it's not done. You tell them there's going to be modular refinery. But people are excited. Oh, it is good to have a modular refinery. So the era of fuel shortages or high price of oil, and you see it's been coupled already. By November 2018, the refinery will be ready. We are now in 2020. You are going to do industrial park. You bring the vice president. The vice president come, make live speeches, how many jobs will be created, and so on and so forth. The companies that have already applied for space in the industrial park, the power supply will be 24-hour uninterrupted. Now in 2020, you go to that place, and I challenge you to go there. You find nothing. So for me, as a party member, not just as a party leader, these are legitimate issues that we discuss with those elected on our platform. Even the president of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, as a party, we engage them. These are the promises. How far have we gone? The National Assembly elected on our platform, if they pursue policies that we think are injurious to the manifesto of the party, it is the duty of the party to ask questions. But more importantly, to insist that we reconcile policies with the manifesto, with the promises made. Now, anybody who now chooses to mischievously try to make it personal and say, oh, it's godfatherism, it is burden. Because the Nigerian constitution does not allow for independent candidates. So if you are elected on a party platform, you must submit to the dictate of the party policy. That is not interference. And it's about issues. And then you now malign people by saying they want money, you have no money to share, and so on. Meanwhile, check the records. The money for security, check what the average was when I was in office and what it is now. So we can go on and on and on. For me, I just want people to know that I do not have any personal vested interest other than the common good for Edo people. And having been so privileged and I enjoy the support across the 3 senatorial districts, whatever anybody say, I am on record as the only person who had won an election in all the 18 local government areas. I won all the 77 wards in Edo South, even against the Benin general who was contesting. That was the level of my acceptability. So I hold Edo people a debt of gratitude. And so if I contributed and I endorsed someone who has turned out to be different and who has abandoned the vision, a shared vision, not vision that was decreed from above, something that was discussed, and you abandon all of those projects, I think I have a duty to let the people know, okay, if I made a mistake, humble enough to own up, but be manly enough to take steps to correct it.
All right, so the governor of Edo State, or the government of Edo State, put in newspapers that you and Captain Musa were bringing in arming youths to rig the elections because the major newspapers everywhere. What would be your reaction to that?
I think you must have read Captain Musa's reaction.
Yes.
And that is the problem with the governor. You know Captain Musa. As he be associated with violence. Because what I want the media to do is not just to pitch statements. The Captain Musa you know, as he be involved in two fighting. Have you seen him on television abusing anybody? How could you say that he's bringing thoughts? But you know, my problem sometimes with the media reportage is that You know the dubious scheme he created. I don't know the word for it now. Go by this one. You have 2 policemen in a car. You have 3 thugs in the same car, and they write police. The police give cover to those thugs, and those are the people who goes to detonate explosive in the secretary of the party's house, the former attorney general's place. You guys know who are doing those things, who have been the victim of this violence. There are people who the governor perceived were not supporting him. So I am not going to add or subtract. Capiosa, the gentleman that he is, has replied him. And I can only say I adopt into everything he said. And that tells you the kind of man. All I was advising you is not everybody you fight. This man is a businessman, he's not a politician. Most people who know Capiosa knows that he has a generous spirit. He doesn't need to know you. People queue there. I always ask him, I say, Capiosa, you are running a one-man social security. Everybody who has problems, once they hear his guitar, he comes around and he gives. He said, but I cannot abandon my people. He is not seeking votes. He's on record, he has never contested election. So why will you, because of that, try to undermine him? But as I said, Capiosa has spoken for himself, and I have adopted his position. He's going to make wild allegations. You know my problem with the media, as I said. Who carry Edo State Waste Management Board trucks to block the road to my house? Who did? Who organized talks to do bonfire on the airport road to prevent me from coming to Edo State? Who is the governor who said, I have warned Oshiomhole, if he come here without my permission, I can no longer come to my state without permission? When PDP stopped me from flying to Ekiti during Fayemi's election, you know, it was a huge embarrassment that I couldn't fly as a governor. Now in my own state, my own governor is saying, I can't even come to Edo. And you had a CPU say, well, to avoid trouble, I should go back. I said, I have to come to Edo. And you saw what happened. It took me 1 hour for police, Air Force personnel to escort me up to this place. And then they carry a truck to block the road. A man who has that history. I reported when they sent thugs to throw stone into this compound. You saw the visuals when they took Okada, about 200-300 Okadas, led by the deputy governor, to come and harass me in my own village, in my community. So my problem is, when I watch televisions, cable news like CNN, BBC, etc., etc., you will see them say, this is what President X has said. However, last time, this is what the Democrats complained of, and these are the visuals. You play back those Okada, those dogs that went to my village, and see who was leading them. You have those visuals. You have them in Channel. You have them in AIT. You have them in NTA. So who has had a history of violence? In my election, is some public record. Was any one person shot? In 2012? So when have I become I'm not a candidate. I'm not a candidate, but I'm a Edo citizen. And they say to whom much is given, much is expected. Edo has given me so much. From zero, they made me governor. Without money, we overthrow PDP, which people thought was impossible. If they done that for me, for life, I am committed to the Edo project. That's all. But I will do so peacefully and transparently. I don't need to rig elections. When I have IMAC, why do I need to rig elections? Those who want to vote, the issue in this election is just causing distraction. The issue is, Your Excellency, Mr. Governor, you recall that I will challenge you, the media, to bring the visuals. The speech you made the day the Vice President, you invited him to come and do groundbreaking of industrial park. Your Excellency is how many years now? We haven't seen anything there. More snakes, more kidnappers have adopted the place. It's now a kidnappers park. What about Gelegele Port? We're supposed to be receiving ship or see major construction work going on. We are not seeing it, Your Excellency. When will they start? Because you told us by now, by your first term, people will be seeing this. What about the more talking about housing estate for all the homeless people in Edo State? I mean, you can go on and on. Where's the modular refinery? All these have MOU, elaborately celebrated, and so on. So, my brother, when a stammerer cannot flow or win an argument, he resorts to punching. That is what the government is doing. Because he has no answer to this question, but he must answer the question. We will compel him to answer the questions. Because the last meeting we had, 7 of us, the governor, the deputy governor, secretary to government, the advisor, political advisor to the governor, and the chairman of the party, and myself, I asked him, God knows I asked him, before 2019 election, I said, Mr. Governor, the way it is that, in Edo South we are going to lose. He said, what? I said, what are you going to campaign with? The whole of Obia, Northeast, local government. What project will you say when you go to each ward? You say, in this ward, this is what I've done. Because you, secretary to government, you, deputy governor, he may not know, he never follow us to do politics. When we go to a rally in a place, we make sure it takes place in a school we have built. And we'll leave one old building. Now, which school have you built in Obia? No new school. Which one have you done in Obia Southwest? None. Which one have you done in Oshiomhole? None. Now, you people have the visuals. When the governor said he has adopted Oredo as a major development area, and said Charlie Tepo and Co, they have been using the local government to make and help themselves and leave the people poorer. He is from Oredo, Nwode. He is going to now set up community development associations. He's going to set up development committees that are not made up of politicians. Because according to him, politicians are about that develop Oredo. It's now going to be 4 years, unless something happens and Christmas is postponed. He will be 4 years in, it's already more than 3 years and 9 months. Have you had anything going on in Nwode? But I can tell you, I constructed road in Nwode. We regularly to Nwode to Ishan. We did a major job in Abudu. All the roads in Abudu, we did them. In Banke, we tied all the roads in the Banke, remaining 2. Those 2 remaining, as if he had done anything about them. So there is no part of Edo that I'm a stranger. And I will report to what I've done. My pain is, people expected that if I came to learn and I got as far as I did, my successor, who was part of the process, doesn't need to go through the learning curve. He will build on that, and by now, Edo will have been higher. Look at the level of crime. Look at the house breakage. And I was telling him, you have to manage the youths. There are trade-offs. If you disempower them in the daytime, they will have to engage themselves at night. So the responsibility of government is to transform everyone. You don't describe your people as street urchins. Were they born as street urchins? It's society that turned them to whatever they are. And we don't need to go outside the country to get the model. Between Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Fashola, those area boys you used to find in Lagos. Remember area boys? Oshodi is one. I used to do strikes in Lagos. My source of recruitment was Oju Elegba and all those that bridge. Once we go there, we park there, we say, okay, don't block the road. Our strike is successful. They transformed them to from area boys to gardeners. All those places they were sleeping, they now plant fly. So from area boys to area workers. You don't sit down and say they are street urchins. Who was born a governor? It's the environment, it's history, our socio-economic history that has enabled some people to climb the ladder and detain people under the grass. And government challenge is to transform. And you must use the instrument of governance to do the greatest good to the greatest number. And that was why I am proud to say that when I was governor here, I worked in areas that were abandoned. I still remember Constance Inoro area. That was a job site. I transformed it, we built it, put street light, put drainage, and we named it Ganifa Emilia. And then we moved to Ilea area where Ogomudia was living. We transformed all the streets there. All the roads we built were high density areas so that the greatest good to the greatest number can be realized. So nothing personal, But if we try to make everything personal, tomorrow he's going to accuse you that you came to my house to hold meeting on how to destabilize his government. You will say so. Because if he can choose Capiosa, then who are you?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.